Hello, class and Professor Thompson. As many of you may already know, finishing up this master's program will be leading me into my second career. Prior to embarking on this new journey, this was me. Yep, that's me, little old police officer Perez. Now, why does that matter and what does it have to do with my policy development assignment? Well, before we get into that, I just want to share a story of the old me, if you will. I was 21 when I joined the police department, and I turned 22 in the academy. I served the Prince George's County Police Department for 10 years, and during that time, I worked as a detective for 1 year, but I stayed as a street cop for 9 years. Oh, and guess what else? Yep, that's right. I fell in love with a fellow peer, no less. Long story short, after 3 years of dating, my beloved was shot and killed on the line of duty. Now, this isn't meant to be a sappy, sad story. Just stay with me, I'm getting to the point, I swear. After losing my beloved, I was deemed unfit for duty and lost my position as an officer. But what I didn't realize was that I had been suffering from PTSD, depression, anxiety, and anger issues for many years, long before he passed. The things I had witnessed as a 22-year-old police officer became images I could not get out of my head. And I began to reflect on how many of the traumatic scenes I witnessed played a role in my personal and professional life. With this knowledge and my education on neuroscience, it occurred to me that a change needed to be made. Finally, I'm getting to my point. I'm excited to share with you all my policy development project. This presentation focuses on the important issues near and dear to my heart, affecting law enforcement officers everywhere in their mental health. There's an increasing number of officers facing trauma and stress due to this, and it's important that we start to promote effective support systems. In this presentation, I'll explore more about the nature of the problem, the agency I worked with, and the action plan I developed, and how we can ensure the sustainability of this project for the future. Law enforcement officers face a multitude of challenges that can seriously impact their mental health. High stress levels, exposure to trauma, and mental health crises are commonplace for this profession, often leading to adverse outcomes not only for the officers themselves, but also for their families, their peers, and the communities they serve. Studies show that officers have a higher likelihood of experiencing mental health issues compared to the general population, with alarming suicide rates and substance abuse statistics. Recent data indicates that the rising number of mental health issues amongst police officers is increasingly recognized as a critical public health challenge. Officers are at higher risk of developing mental health conditions compared to general population. Implementing effective mental health promotion initiatives can help mitigate the psychological challenges faced by police personnel. From 2021 to 2023, a total of 194 officers lost their lives while on duty, marking the deadliest 3-year span in 2 decades. Beyond safety issues, officers are increasingly discontent due to inadequate salaries, extended work hours, intense stress, and declining level of public trust. Overall, fewer than 10% of officers express job satisfaction, and only 7% would recommend the profession to potential new recruits. It's crucial that we recognize the vulnerability of this population, particularly among officers from marginalized communities who may face additional societal pressures. By understanding these factors, we can begin to address the critical gaps in support systems within law enforcement. The agency I focused on for this project was my former agency, the Prince George's County Police Department, where I served for 10 years. The mission of this agency is to work in partnership with the community, which is essential given the context of mental health issues faced by officers. Currently, there are systems in place. However, there are broader systemic issues at play. Recruitment practices often favor younger candidates as young as 21 years of age. I mean, you guys saw how young I was. And there exists a cultural stigma associated with mental health within law enforcement, which can deter officers from seeking help. Additionally, inadequate training and trauma-informed care means that many officers may not be equipped to handle their own mental health needs or recognize the needs of their colleagues. And as I always say, how is it that we're trained to utilize everything in our gun belt, but we're not trained on how to utilize the biggest weapon we house, which is our brains? My action plan consists of several key components. First, I recommend implementing a trauma history assessment for new recruits. to identify past trauma and needed support early on. Second, I propose that we raise the recruitment age to 25. Since the prefrontal cortex located in the front of our brain isn't fully mature or developed until we're 25, this is needed because this is the region that plays a key role in essential skills such as planning, prioritizing, and making sound decisions. It's absolutely necessary and vital for officers to have these, especially if they're sworn and armed and seeking to protect our communities. Lastly, I'm advocating for enhanced mental health support frameworks within the agency, consistent, relevant trainings, peer support opportunities, and partnerships with outside mental health resources. To implement this action plan, I collaborated with stakeholders, including mental health professionals and agency leaders, as well as officers. We held meetings to discuss the specific needs, gathered feedback, and we had advisory committees that included various representatives. The feedback was great, but we also need to continue doing this to benefit. To ensure the sustainability of the project, we plan to measure its success using key metrics such as recruitment and retention rates, as well as the utilization of mental health resources by officers. Ongoing training will be a priority as well. We're going to establish continuous feedback loops with stakeholders, which will allow us to evaluate our initiatives regularly and make any necessary adjustments. Important to this project, we have to make sure that we meet the long-term goals, reinforcing its commitment to its well-being of officers in the community. In conclusion, addressing the mental health issues in law enforcement is not just about improving the lives of officers. It's crucial for fostering healthier community relations. By raising the recruitment age, implementing trauma history assessments alongside enhanced support frameworks, we can make this significant stride in mitigating the challenges faced by officers. As for me, I'm not speaking on behalf of just myself. I speak on behalf of those officers who don't even know that they're dealing with something, for those that can't speak for themselves, for those mothers, fathers, husbands, wives, uncles, aunties, sons, and daughters who bear the uniform but cannot see the importance and value of their own lives beyond that badge. My goal is to bring humanity back to every police officer through education, validation, and consideration. Thank you.